Did wealthy businessman Cal Harris kill his wife? After 2 trials and 2 overturned convictions, the very question was in doubt. The investigators were dogged, and new prosecutors prepped for round 3. This time, Cal also came with a new defense team and a major counterattack plan.
Their position on my case was, look, we're not just going to defend you, we're going to solve this case.
The defense pursued their own suspects in Michelle's disappearance, introducing Stacy Stewart and Chris Thomason, 2 steelworkers who knew Michelle from Lefty's, the rough-and-tumble bar where former convicts were known to hang, and where she worked.
Stacy Stewart killed my wife.
Cops never named Stewart or Thomason as suspects, and both passed polygraphs. Stacy Stewart and his black Chevrolet pickup truck matched Kevin Tubbs' description and the sketch given to cops of what he saw at the end of the Harris driveway.
The fact that that individual, Stacy Stewart, knew Michelle, admitted socializing with her, that was critical.
Stacy told the police that his friend Chris came to his house one night with his girlfriend and they had bloody clothes on and they asked him to burn their clothes. And he gave the story about he thought they had gutted a deer.
The defense team didn't buy it, arguing the bloody clothes were burned the day after Michelle went missing. They believed the evidence would be found at the bottom of Stacy Stewart's backyard burn pit.
We found a forensic anthropologist. We dug up this burn pit and actually found the remnants of burnt clothing.
According to Cal's defense team, they had also found part of a bra strap, a key, a coin, and a knife blade. Only one thing was missing. None of the items could be linked to Michelle Harris. And there was more bad news for Cal.
The judge wouldn't let us present any of that evidence to the jury.
All was not lost. With just enough doubt, this time the jury could not come to a unanimous verdict.
The judge declares a mistrial in the 3rd Cal Harris murder trial.
So it's a hung jury.
Everybody was excited but me, because I knew another trial was coming. They were trying to break me, physically, emotionally, financially.
I did not have anything to do with Michelle's disappearance. One day, I hope to be able to prove that to everyone's satisfaction.
A year later, Cal would get that chance at trial number 4. This go-around, Cal opted for a bench trial. Judge Richard Mott would hear the case and render a verdict.
We needed to have our evidence implicating the other men come into the evidence.
Judge Mott allowed testimony and evidence about Stacy Stewart and Chris Thomason, though neither man testified at trial. And the blood evidence took a major hit.
The photographs that they had taken and had used in the 1st and 2nd trial were altered intentionally. The judge ruled, you cannot talk about color.
Cal says their own investigation uncovered footage proving that photos of the bloodstains Dr. Henry Lee analyzed in previous trials had been digitally altered to look more vividly red and therefore fresher.
I'll never forget that moment. The judge turns to Gerald Keene and he says, Mr. Keene, would you agree that there's no scientific way to age the blood? And he says, yes. And that's the argument that Jerry Keene made to the jury in his summation.
The closing arguments in the 4th trial were on dramatic display by defense attorney Bruce Barquette.
The lack of investigation of Stewart, in the mismanagement of the collection of the blood, in the mismanagement of the photographing and documenting of the staining in the areas. I'm asking the court to find Mr. Harris not guilty because there's not proof beyond a reasonable doubt that he committed this offense.
District Attorney Kirk Martin's words were equally impassioned.
Michelle died in an act of domestic violence at the hands of her familiar adversary. Michelle died at the hands of her husband, the defendant, Calvin Harris.
After 12 hours of deliberations, Judge Mott was ready to render his verdict.
When he came through that door, I saw the look on his face, and he was angry. I'm like, he's going to convict me.
Then the decision.
When you heard the words not guilty.
I didn't hear it. I didn't hear it. I was blocked out. And next thing I know, my heart's racing and I turn around and kids are crying and hugging. And
after 15 years, it was finally over. Cal could never be tried again for the death of his wife, Michelle Harris.
It's just been a roller coaster.
The trials may be over, but there are inconsistencies and lingering questions. We needed answers. Remember, Cal did respond to allegations of domestic abuse, claiming if it was so bad, Michelle would have cited it in divorce papers. He claims no action was taken by the court on her claims.
I responded to what actually happened, and the judge didn't believe anything in her paperwork, and he didn't grant her anything she asked for.
And what about Michelle allegedly telling her sister-in-law that Cal had threatened her, saying, "I got the perfect place to put your body. They'll never find you."
That statement was never put in her divorce papers. Now, if she's going to try to get temporary custody of the house, and temporary custody of the kids, that would be something that would be very powerful. So the question is, how legit, how real is this statement that was supposedly made by her to these other people?
Michelle had requested an order of protection but never filed it with the court. But one piece of evidence still looms. Exactly how did Michelle's blood get in the garage and kitchen? Cal says it's possibly from an altercation Michelle described in her divorce papers.
Michelle tells her that we got in an argument out in the driveway and that I pushed her away from me and that she fell and cut her hand in the driveway on the snow and ice. She walked in here, which she would have done, and she was either bleeding from her hand and it was dripping, or she was shaking the water off her hand and the snow and the ice, and it deposited there, and then she walked into the house. So she comes in, closes the door, again, maybe she shakes her hand, tries to wash off the snow and the ice, the whatever, or flicks it, and it's deposited there. We don't know that. We don't know that it came from that because you can't age the blood.
All the questions seem to have a Cal answer. But after 4 trials, life for Harris will never be the same, and the man who stood accused may never truly escape.
New York State Police have charged Cal Harris with 4th-degree stalking.
Coming up, Cal Harris arrested again.
He verbally threatened an off-duty member of the state police.
And Crime Watch Daily with the man Cal and his defense team say is responsible for the disappearance of Michelle Harris.
Am I scapegoating this or attempt? Yeah, absolutely.